Well, it's being called a microplastics genocide, and we are facing a toxic tidal wave in our food supply. A few new reports out over the past few days shows that microplastics have invaded everything, our water supply, our food supply. You probably know that already. But now, new reports show it's in our bloodstream. And they found that in 88% of the meats we consume, it's in our soil, it's in our produce. They're quietly rewriting our biology. So as we're sitting here, all these microplastics in our body are rewriting our biology. How will it affect our ability to have children and live into old age? The studies are terrifying. Endocrine disruptors, inflammation, even death. So how do we fight back? Well, that's what Kim Bright is here to break down. Kim is a true pioneer in the world of natural health and nutrition. You know her well. She spent decades ahead of her time, really. Kim Bright is the founder of Brightcore Nutrition, one of the original forces behind the MAHA movement. Kim, welcome back to the show. Great to see you.
Hey, Clayton. Thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure. I want to bring receipts this time, and I want our audience because, how do we fight back about it? This is a real question. How do we fight back against this? We'll talk about how to protect your body, how to detox, how to detox your cells, nourish yourself in a world that's becoming increasingly toxic. So we'll get there in a second, but maybe we can just sort of lay out what you're seeing right now in the environment. Like if you could run down a list of what are the toxins that we are currently facing in 2025?
Those dangers are all around us. They're 5G, the towers. We have more electrical energy coming at us than at any other time in human history. Pharmaceuticals, chemicals in our soil, our water, in the air we're breathing, mRNA vaccines. All these things are inundating us. But there's something that is it's more evil because you can't see it, is the microplastics. And I want to make sure everybody out there understands what microplastics truly are. What they are they chemical polymers and they're fragments of chemical polymers that they subsist of these macromolecules. They form a chain, and they just keep repeating themselves, which makes them really strong binding together things that are almost unable to be destroyed. So when I talk about macroplastics actually, the size of them are, I want to get this right, is less than 0.2 inches. All right, that's 0.2 tenths of an inch, all the way down to 1/250,000. Okay, that's tiny, and anything smaller than that's considered nanos, and that's measured in the millions and the billions. So we're talking about things that are just unbelievably small that we can't see. But it's almost like this is a genocide, like you said, and it's really abundant everywhere.
We're told to avoid like plastic water bottles. So as I'm sitting here, my wife, when we were, raising our little children, and, she was very adamant, like, let's use glass for after she would pump like breast milk, and put it in a glass bottle and all of that, and go to such great lengths to try to keep that kind of plastics out of our house. But then you almost feel like you're just, you're like Sisyphus trying to push a boulder up a hill, because it seems like it's impossible, because we're told to avoid plastic water bottles, but studies now show that it's even, it's in our tap water already. It's in rainwater. And so is there really truly any water source left that's free of this stuff?
Not really. I mean, even after, all the processing that they do to try and clear out the things of our tap water, it's still 63% is there. It's almost impossible to filter out. It's impossible almost to filter out. And speaking of baby bottles, up until 2012, they had this plastic called BPA in the nipples. Even if you use glass, you were getting it there. And if you put it in the microwave to warm it up, you're getting now intensifying it in the nipple. It's just like everywhere. The sippy cups, all these things. You have to be so careful as a parent. And it's just, we're being bombarded with this stuff. And, it's the other thing too, is not only is it worldwide in the water, bottled water too. Think about plastic bottles that sit out, after the trucks deliver them, and they're in the trucks and they're going down the road and it's 100 degrees outside. It's just getting more inundated, that water, with the plastics. But also what's happening too is our food supply. This is everywhere in the Arctic and Antarctica. It's in the deepest area of our oceans. Our oceans are now so inundated with this stuff. It goes all the way down our food chain to the microalgae. The
So wait,
microalgae,
wait a second. Even in Antarctica, in the Arctic Circle, we're finding the microplastic
microplastics, and in the
nanoparticles.
Mariana Trench, which that's the deepest point on Earth.
Jeez Louise. Can you walk us
The
through?
micro,
So
well, let me just say this, the
yeah.
microalgae now, science has proven, they've been studying this, that the microalgae cellular systems are disrupted because they're unable to pick up the amount of nutrients that they used to be able to pick up. Now take this and go all the way up the food chain, Clayton, to where we're now eating the tissues of the fish out of the water. We're eating the tissues of the meat at the very end of the food chain, livestock, dairy, all of this stuff. Think about how inundated their tissues are, because not only are they coming up through the food chain, but in the grass is watered with, you know, all of these fragments that have been falling out of the sky. So we're inundated with it every single place that we can absolutely imagine. And like you said, in the meats, they did the study, and not just meat too. It's also in tofu. It's in the plant-based meats. Up to 88% of these things had it. And clothing, plastic clothing. Everybody thinks, oh, we're doing such a good job. We're going to recycle these plastic bottles and get them out of the oceans. We're going to make them into shoes for your feet. We're going to make them into clothing for you. Clothing that is used to wick away water, whether you're hiking or having your yoga pants on, or men or women that wear this plastic underwear that is all made of these polymers. Heat, remember, makes these things stronger. And our skin absorbs more this way when we're wearing these types of clothing against our skin. Men are having reproductive problems. Women are having reproductive problems. This is right up next to where you reproduce. So think about wearing some whitey tidies, everybody.
Oh my
And
God, I'm
in
gonna check my
clothing
underwear.
manufacturers, men are having erectile dysfunction. They're studying this because they're constantly inhaling all of these fragments every day. And then atmosphere again. Every time they send a missile up, every time they send a rocket up, they're all made with plastics, nanoplastics, and these microparticles are falling down into our ionosphere. They're being spread out throughout the world. No boundaries here. And you know what I can't figure out is Elon Musk has 8,000 of the 12,000 active satellites up there. And he keeps sending up more. He sent some more up, what was it, 22, 28, 32 on Sunday. And I actually watched in the sky, and the stuff remained there in these weird circles after it had launched and gone up. And an hour later, it was still there. So and why the rush for him to get to Mars? Something tells me that this planet is being made inhabitable, and the few guys are going to escape. And even though he seems to be doing some great things like implanting things in people's head where they can see again, they were blind, or move again, I don't know, maybe these can all be connected up to the satellite. Now we're in the matrix and you're under the control of Big Brother.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people in my audience that believe we're, heading into the mark of the beast territory here. So, with all this transhumanism and the manipulation of the human body in a way, I mean, it's deeply terrifying. And, being injected with these sort of nanoparticles through these mRNA vaccines to begin with, and then being manipulated with 5G technology. I don't know how steeped in that you are, but, just thinking all of these particles that are in our bodies. We did an interview a few weeks ago with an MK Ultra whistleblower, and you wouldn't believe the emails and messages that I got from people that have said they have been targeted. People want to claim that it's Havana syndrome. It's not. They are being targeted. I mean, talking like total fatigue, with directed energy weapons. I mean, we can go down a whole territory of craziness here, but
they're
this is
existing.
reality.
We got some evil. Yeah, we got some real evil. We got the mark of the beast out there for sure. And people have to be smart and read their Bibles and don't take that mark of the beast. Don't get these implants. Get rid of all of as many of electronics as you can, and just really dive into it and study. Everybody needs to really be aware of these things. But, the global consumption is now 6 times higher of these micro and nanoplastics than it was in 1990. And scientists have said that they can see the cells being altered by this. And they actually have a name for it now because it's going into our organs and altering our organs. And it's called plasticosis.
So I was just about to ask you, how is this? We talked about the prevalence of where this stuff is all around the world in everything. So what exactly is it doing to our bodies? This plasticosis? What is it doing to our bodies?
Plasticosis, it's actually altering our cell behavior. So our cells aren't going to function normally. Our cells can't carry and transport oxygen and nutrients to our cells, just like I mentioned in what's happened with the microalgae. They're finding blood clots at an increasing rate and heart attacks and strokes. A 2025 study found people that had the microplastics and nanoplastics in their carotid artery tissues were 2 times more able to die of stroke and a heart attack in the next 3 years than people that didn't show as much. So the whole thing here is the plastic manufacturers are now manufacturing well over 500 million tons of this stuff a year. We have to stop using it. We have to, get rid of all of the things that we can get rid of. Don't buy things that, are made of plastic, and then, hopefully they'll stop making it. But, it's not simply enough, Clayton, to stop using these plastics. We have to get them out as much as we possibly can. But the whole thing here is, I looked at it and I was like, there's got to be a way to remove these plastics. There's got to be a way to make them less harmful. And, I've studied all these different diets. And of course, to me, the most important foods that we can eat are fermented foods. And that's been proven to be one of the main things that keep people, in these regions where they've been living to be 120, 130 years old, are their fermented foods. And of course, kimchi is the #1 fermented food used for centuries in Korea. And there's, I don't know if you have a slide there that I thought that maybe one of my people had sent over, but I found out that a healthy microbiome actually will break down these toxins into inert substances. So this was a thing.
Yeah, let's put this up on the screen. This is the degradation of bisphenol. Is that right?
That's another one. There was another one right before that where it shows that it's from a different study. But anyway, the important thing to know is when you take in kimchi, this fermented food, it's going to help break down the toxins into inert substances. But what I got really excited about was that study, if you have there, about the BPA. This is the most common plastic that's been used. It was manufactured back in the 50s. And it's, don't use Teflon pans. I mean, my gosh, you scrape one of those things and you really got it going into your body and everything. But this BPA, bisphenol acetone, this stuff is so dangerous. And I got excited because kimchi is shown to surround these microplastics and nanoplastics, actually surround them and carry them out through the body, through the waste. Nothing else can degrade these. It degrades this BPA and surrounds it and carries it out of the body. This was just struck me like this is the answer, because if we keep our microbiome healthy by eating the fermented foods and having the good healthy bacteria be the majority in our gut that God put there on purpose to protect us against the pathogens that are also there, the molds, the yeast, the fungus, and the parasites, those don't get to come in and overgrow in our body if we have a healthy microbiome. We also have we need to have a healthy microbiome on our skin, which is directly connected to our gut through a communication line, also in our brain, also in our heart. So when I saw that this could actually grab onto these things, because not only what's so evil about microplastics too is they're all different shapes, and they can get in and tear up the inside of our body, and they carry with them, they're attracted to other toxins. So they're bringing in other pathogens and toxins on top of themselves, and they love fat. So they tend to go to our brain, our liver, our kidneys, areas in the body where we have a lot of fat in our fat cells. So I found this study unbelievable, that this is true, and we can get this job, at least we can control some part of our interior of our body to get rid of these microplastics. So I was very, very excited about that.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it seems like with all of it just surrounding us on a regular basis, it's almost impossible to get it out of our bodies. And this study we have here, that our brains are now 99.5% human and then 0.5% plastic. That is unbelievable to me. This researchers at University of Mexico have found that there was a 50% increase just from 2016. From the year 2016 when they were doing autopsies. That blew me away, Kim, because that would mean that our brains today are somewhat human and then mostly plastic. But why do you think we've seen this massive increase since 2016, only 9 years ago?
Well, because they just keep manufacturing more microplastics. It's constant. It's just the 500 million plus. And, living along coastlines now, they've proven that diabetes rates go up, type 2 diabetes, the heart and the stroke and all these things. It's getting crazy. And now they're actually diagnosing in our cells. These microplastics look normal because somehow they can adjust and they start to look normalized in our cells. They are endocrine disruptors. They mimic estrogen. So we've been seeing over the years men developing these women's breasts almost, becoming more feminine and things. This is all estrogen based. And these
I was going to ask you, you talk about men becoming more like women, and I think this is part of, again, this to me, this is like an agenda. This is like they don't want us reproducing. They want us, they want our fertility down. We've seen plummeting fertility rates. You talked about the microplastics in underwear. So I got to check my underwear later to make sure. But I mean, I've got 3 kids.
Your whitey tidies.
Yeah. But I mean, again, moving away from cotton, moving towards these synthetics, we've seen a plummeting of men on testosterone and reproduction. And so we now have a birth gap in the United States for the first time, plummeting birth rates. So, I mean, this is all tied together, is it not?
Oh, it is. I mean, in order to keep up with the population as it is now in America, women have to have, I think, something like 2.1 babies now, and it's down to 1.2. So it's half of what we should be at the rate. And so, yeah, it's just incredible. But what the hope that is here is that there's hardly anything that we can do about our outside environment. They're bombarding us with everything they can, the pharmaceuticals, the chemicals, everything, the microplastics now. But we can do something inside. We can take care of our microbiome. We can make better choices. And there was another study that just came out in 2025 about how 2 specific probiotic strains that are found only in kimchi will again bind and flush these microtoxins out. So now we have Bacillus pumilus and we have the other 2. So we have 3 of these that are found in kimchi. And this is what's so exciting. And, not only is kimchi going to do this for us, but it's antimicrobial. What does that mean? It's against the bad bacteria, fungus, yeast, molds, and parasites in our body. And if people out there that have eaten a typical diet, the highest sourcing of these microplastics also are in ultra processed foods, because as they're more and more processed and they go across all these different lanes of processing, they get more the plastic particles off the machinery, off of the wrappings and everything. So these are loaded up. And 70% of Americans, 50% of their diets, ultra-processed foods. So you cut those out too. But this is, when you're eating these kind of foods, you are loaded up. You're making your blood thicker, dirtier, and the parasites love that. The fungus loves that. All of the yeasts and molds are growing in you. and it's trying to kill you off and return you back to the soil. That's why God put them there. But we don't need that happening right now. We need to eat healthy, good bacteria that's found in these fermented foods. It's found in kimchi. So it's antiviral, anti-parasitic, and antifungal. So, kimchi, we made kimchi one. That's the solution here. And because I know that people in America don't like the flavor, don't like the taste of kimchi. It's very foreign to them. And they, even if they will start to eat it, they will not keep it up. And because we have this deluge of all these outside chemicals coming at us, we have to eat this every day. We have to take something that is going to bind and carry these things out so we don't become overtoxic and fall over dead in far less time than we should be. So
can I just say my producer, my producer Philip, he loves kimchi. He will eat a whole can every day of radish kimchi. He loves the taste of it, and his daughter, they love it. They go to the store like almost every day and buy another can of it, and they love it. I personally love the taste of kimchi. I will eat it with meats and things like that. My mother-in-law can't stand the taste of kimchi, so when you guys created, I sing the praises of Kimchi One to anyone who will listen to me. I take it every day as a supplement. I love kimchi, but I'm not going to eat kimchi every day. It can be expensive if you're buying it from Whole Foods or other places. So what you guys have done with this supplement is remarkable. And so I'll put this up here on the screen so you can get 25% off with your code, with the code Redacted. If you go to mybrightcore.com/redacted, there's a QR code on the screen. But the best part is if people want to call you, if they call your 888 number, you'll get 50% off plus free shipping. Here's that number on the screen, 888-404-6312. So I love your product. I use it every day. Natali uses it every day. It's a part of our family. My mom uses it now. My mother-in-law uses it every day. Really, really great stuff. So again, it's a way to get kimchi if you don't like the taste of it, right?
That's right. And it's non-GMO, made in the United States here. And it is, it's something that you can, most people will take, it's only 3 capsules a day. And so you can take one with each meal, or you can take them all 3 at once. But most people will do that. And especially when they understand how drastic our health is going downhill and how this is a solution. It's not the only solution, of course, but it is a solution. You're going to notice better digestion and bloating because all of these and this invasion of these chemicals into our body causes us to be constipated or have diarrhea and have bloating and just feel sick and fatigued all the time. You're going to notice a big change in that. You'll notice your skin is different, your hair is different because your body is getting rid of this toxicity that is just overwhelming it. And that's what is so great about this. It's really restoring our microbiome everywhere, in our gut, on our skin, in our brains, in our hearts, everywhere. So I think everyone needs to be taking this as a preventative, or not a preventative, but to get out these toxins that are there, because there's nothing we can do to prevent all this stuff.
I know. I would like for them to stop using all these plastic bottles. I would like for them to stop launching SpaceX rockets and it raining down on us. I would love for the chemtrails to stop. I would love to, sort of return to a period where we don't have 5G, all of that stuff.
Yes.
But of course, it's getting worse, not better. And so really the only way to prolong our life and have a healthier, happier life is to just be proactive internally, right?
Yes. And to educate our children, not let them be manipulated into thinking, oh, all this AI and all this stuff is so good and progressive. And because they even have studies now showing that our brains are shrinking because these kids are using AI. They don't have to think anymore. Our cognitive abilities are going down. So people have to know this is not an advancement, as far as I'm concerned, unless you want to advance to being a robot and controlled and live in the matrix. This is degrading us and our connection with God. So people, let's get real here. Let's say the things that really are truth. And let's either decide that you want your kids and your grandkids to grow up and be in the matrix and be robots, or do you want to try and steer them the other direction?
Well, Kim, thank you so much. I want to have a link to your website in the description below. If anyone wants to jump in and start taking some Kimchi One, I highly recommend it. I'm a big proponent of it. I wouldn't have Kim on the show talking about it if I didn't believe in it. So this is something I take every day. So we'll have a link in the description below. And my thanks to you, Kim, for educating all of us on this. I really appreciate it, and continue to do the great work that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. And everybody, prayers out there. Let's pray and let's bring God back into the center. And maybe, maybe we can get rid of the evil guys.
Amen.
Amen.